Shalom, shalom. This is Brother Mark coming to you again, bringing up this gospel of truth that fight hopefully like could be Ashura, like Israel, so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Latinos. To always one or two-thirds of our people of the impending judgment of the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai is going to bring upon this wicked, sinful kingdom known as America, okay, but spiritually known as Sodom and Egypt. And it's always a pleasure to let the so-called white man know that your end is near. Before we get started, I'd like to give all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, or Kakadash. Double honors that teaches us in the bars of a great millstone, likewise, brothers, put on this truth. Fairly, fairly, see, feeding sheep, and do brothers and sisters, tuning in, Shalom. I don't have a particular title for this lesson today. I have a few clips and, of course, bringing on the scriptures. And so, without further ado here, let's play our first clip.
And again, another one bites the dust. How many videos am I going to have to make to tell you if you don't look like me, but you think because you're not black, it's not going to happen to you? It's going to happen to you. And the irony is your proximity to whiteness is never going to save you, and the call is always going to come from inside the house. Let's not forget that just a week and a half ago, they found a 19-year-old Latino boy hanging outside of a police department in Washington, D.C. We will never like you. We will never accept you. We will use you. We will abuse you. And then we will toss you aside. She's a dead woman walking. If she'll get drunk and get on Instagram on somebody else's page and talk like this, do you imagine what she says within the police department with other officers? So now they're thinking if she'll yap, she'll yap. So we need to worry about that.
And you saw in that clip, okay, that's the viral video that's going around with that Northern Kingdom, former Houston cop, okay, who recorded her hate for so-called black people, okay? And little does she understand is that she belongs to a tribe, okay, the 12th tribe of Israel, okay, and she's part of the Northern Kingdom tribe, particularly Issachar, okay? And she is a part, okay, of that oppressive state that we are in right now, pursuant to Deuteronomy 28. Okay, we're under those curses, and that Edomite, brought a reality check of what they really think. Okay, and a woman in that particular position, okay, and at least she was, doesn't understand the state or the environment that we're in right now. It doesn't matter that you hold a title or a particular position in the society right now. We're in the end of days and where Jacob's trouble is already here. And these people, okay, are going to come up against the children of Israel. Doesn't matter of your color, but let's go into the scripture here. This is the book of Proverbs 14 and verse 31. It reads, "He that oppresseth the poor reproacheth his maker, but he that honoreth him had mercy on the poor." So clearly this lady, okay, and I'm using that word lady loosely here, doesn't understand that, okay, she is oppressing the poor. She's given authority and power in this wicked queendom, okay, and instead of using it as a means of really bringing justice, okay, as they like to mention it, okay, she's using it as a means of getting her revenge, her fulfilling her fantasies. She's gonna particularly target so-called blacks and beat them down and all of that stuff. Because why? Okay, in this society, that badge has power. You are less likely, okay, to raise your hand or defend yourself, okay, against an oppressive power, because they have the means and all of the assets and the people backing them up and going, okay, that we got rid of that nuisance of the society, okay, and she knows that. And Jake is going to halt to authority. Okay, the Jacob seeing what's happened when you go up against authority. So she knows she has that ability and she's going to use that. But what she doesn't understand is this. Let's go on to Proverbs 28. Okay, and this is Proverbs 28. Okay, and let's go to verse 3. It reads, "A poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain, which leaveth no food." So here is a woman that has power in her hands, okay, with the badge. Okay, she's supposed to be a peace officer, but she's abusing it. And she should know better, because why would you abuse a set of people that have marched, okay, in the streets of America for the last, what, 70, 80 years, that has been the constant target of malicious attacks, okay, oppression, shamed, humiliated, okay, that has been the forefront of fighting for equality and justice in this place, which all of you have benefited. You northern tribes have benefited. These other heathen nations that are here in America have benefited from it. In fact, you Edomites out there have benefited from Jake's going out there and marching. But here it is, this woman, okay, wants to join Esau in beating down her brothers and sisters because she has an emotional hatred, okay, for people that are in a low state, not understanding that she herself is in a low state. Okay, let's go to John 8 and 44. Okay, but we understand who she is. Okay, when you hear her out, okay, talking, it's clear who she belongs to. Okay, this is the book of John 8 and verse 44, and it reads, "Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father will you do." He was a murderer from the beginning. Didn't she talk about murdering, beating down, incarcerating a so-called black man or woman for no reason, destroying their lives because she has the ability and the power to do so? And abode not in the truth, not understand who she really is, who we are, because there's no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he's a liar and the father of it. So basically, you have a set of our people that are going to do the will of Esau. As a matter of fact, you have out here in El Paso, okay, the chief of police happens to look like an Edomite, and I feel through the spirit he is an Edomite, and he's given these cops out here, you know, the authority where they don't get any type of repercussion at all to go out and beat down the locals here. Basically, who are going to be who the majority of the locals made out of? So-called Latinos and Hispanics. They represent 95% of the population out here in El Paso. And he said he stands behind the brutality of the cops, you know? But nobody's really sitting down and take a look at the fact that the chief of police is he's an Edomite. He's an Edomite. He's a clear-born, bona fide Edomite. So he's living out his lust of killing and murdering, beating down, oppressing the people that he hates, which is the so-called Latinos, Hispanic, Native Americans, and so-called African Americans or blacks, through using his proxies, who are Jakes, who have the same lust and hatred as their father, the devil, the so-called white man. So let's go into the next video here. And this clip, you know, pretty much once you'll get the feeling, you know, like I did, maybe not, that this will look like an Ishkarite. Okay, is he definitely been watching, he's been watching the prophets. Okay, so check this out.
As Latinos, I've noticed that we're willing to accept white people in our family, but not black people. Most of the time, we prefer white people over black people. Really, any other nation more than a black person. What I mean is, a mother's daughter has a white boyfriend, they would happily welcome him more than if she had a black boyfriend. Most of the time, there's a stereotype within the Hispanic household about black people, right? That they're criminals, they're gang members, they're violent, they're someone you should fear. When really, we should look at white people that way, because white people are the ones who actually are harming us right now. Yes, they're Hispanics who are in those ICE trucks, ICE vans, but they have been put in place by the oppressor. The same people who descend from the people who took your land, put your forefathers in slave ships, stole your identity, gave you the terms Latino, Hispanic. The people who descend from those people, they're oppressing you today. And their forefathers oppressed your forefathers back in the day. So what is my point? We need to deny any nation but our own. As Black, Latinos, and Natives, we are the same people. We should unite, we should come together, and we should marry one another. If your daughter wants to get with a so-called African American, of course, you want to make sure that he's a good fit. You should allow that. If your son wants to get with an African American sister, make sure she is fit and allow that. And same thing for so-called Black people. Same thing for your daughters and your sons who want to get with natives or so-called Hispanic. You should allow that, because that's going to make us unite. That's going to make us stronger. And people might say, well, Black people hate Hispanics. Hispanics hate Black people. Listen, the reason why we are hurting each other is because we're oppressed by the same person who's causing stress, who's causing chaos, who's causing poverty in our lives. And when we are going through stress and anger, we get violent. And who are we going to get violent with? The people who live among us. We live amongst each other. You understand? But the people who we should really be upset with, and who we should point the finger at, is our oppressor.
Now, you saw in that clip, we talked about several things, and, there's a clear understatement of the fact that if you're dark skinned, so-called Black, you're inferior to everybody, okay? And if you're fair skinned or so-called white, okay, which is red, you are going to get a pass, and they will allow the serpent into their house or the devil into their house, which is the so-called white man. Because why? Let's go into Proverbs 3 and verse 31. And this is a clear-cut case of envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. And what are the ways of Esau the Edomite? Okay, wickedness, bias, hypocritical, just wicked. All right. He's a oppressor. Okay. And if you align yourself with them, which are a lot of our Northern Kingdom tribes, who made the case of colorism as their view of their brothers and sisters who are of the darker tribes, okay, you're going to be thinking, okay, the way the so-called white man thinks and operating that way. Henceforth, it's why there's a pass for the daughters of the Northern Kingdom tribe. It's okay if they can, get themselves aligned with a so-called white man, okay? And we see how that turns out sometimes, because they're not getting with the Brad Pitts or the well-to-do, wealthy white man that can do something for them. They're getting with just Joe Snuffy, just another broke-ass demon, okay, walking out there, but his skin color is right? Let's go into Jeremiah 50 and start on verse 33. It's Jeremiah 50 and start on verse 33. And it reads, thus said the Lord of hosts, Yahweh Shemel Shai, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were pressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Okay? We can't say enough to you Northern Kingdom tribes. You're oppressed the same way we are. Now, we might have more publicity, with slavery, which probably induces that mindset that these people are so inferior because, you show the pictures and documentation showing us in chains and, working hard in the field, getting beat down and all that stuff. And we bring out the history, okay, of the transatlantic slave trade, okay, but we also show you that down in what is known as South America, okay, and Central America, the slavery was going on down there too. Okay, that the Spanish that came down there, okay, committed a lot of genocide. Hence is why you're speaking the language of your oppressor. When you look at every Latino Hispanic nation, okay, Puerto Rico, Honduras, and Guatemala, you name it, Mexico, look at the leader of those nations. They're Edomites. They're Edomites. And you have a case system where, just like in India, okay, if you're of a darker skin color, you're ostracized from certain benefits that you would receive in society. Your societal um, basically stance is going to be at a lower level. Okay, you can use George Lopez as an example. He's a darker skin, it's great. Now he's popular among them because why? He's got the money, the fame, and everything like that. The same as Jake's over here. But in reality, he's part of that case system. And he knows it, which is the reason why a lot of time when he brings out his comedy, he'll talk about it. Because deep down he knows he's no better than a doggone Negro. All right? Let's go into uh Deuteronomy 28 and 54 because I feel like this young man, he's been watching the prophets and he knows, okay, and he understands to a degree. He has that zest, but he doesn't have quite the understanding. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 54. It reads, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate his eyes should be evil towards his brother and towards the wife of his bosom, towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Okay, so we have a curse of hatred. It's okay. I look at the news out here in El Paso, and what do I see? Uh, so-called Latinos and Hispanics getting deleted out here, and guess who's the perpetrator? A so-called Latino or Hispanic. Okay, same thing when you read the news when you see with so-called blacks. Okay, who is a perpetrator a lot of time? So-called blacks. We fight against each other, man. We have an evil eye towards each other. It's a curse, and only through this truth that we understand, and we have to sit back and think. And none of us are immune to it. We have to sit back and think, you know, as a Hebrew Israelite, under the curses, we're all struggling, we're all, fighting, we all have been exposed to racism or oppression or some form of hatred by the so-called white man, and through maybe the Northern Kingdom and the Southern Kingdom. If you're, it depends on what side, which you're on. If you're a Southern Kingdom tribe, you've experienced what you think is racism from the Northern Kingdom tribe. If you're a Northern Kingdom tribe, you've experienced racism, what you think is a Southern Kingdom tribe. And so everybody's got it. And only the hopefully elect men and women would sit back and think for a second, we're under the curses. That's why I'm thinking that way. You ask you, how about you? I'll try to take that spirit off of you, that you don't think the way you're thinking, because this is how we've been conditioned in this society. Okay. Let's go into Ezekiel 37 and start with verse 15. Okay. 37, start verse 15. And it reads, the word of the Lord Yahweh Shai came unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph and the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. So, his desire, and I feel like he's sincere, is that, we would unite. We would stop looking and judging each other by skin color and just get together, right? But it's going to be get together in the kingdom of heaven. It's going to be different. It's not about the way the so-called white man is saying it. Let's get together, build community together and all that stuff. No, this is going to be in the kingdom of heaven. So at some point in time when the curses are over and done with, okay, we're going to be united as one tribe. We're going to have new bodies and new mindset, okay? Because our job is going to be to educate the rest of the tribes on this earth during the 1,000 years of judgment, okay, in which the so-called white man would be removed from power, right? Now let's go into this next video clip here. And this is a clear-cut case of Ecclesiasticus 14 and 5. Okay, so check this out.
Every economic problem that we're facing in this country right now, student loan debt being just out of control, the government shutdown, SNAP benefits being cut, health insurance premiums about to go through the roof, your rent going up, your pay stagnating, groceries just being astronomical, is because reparations were never paid after the Civil War. Let me explain. After the Civil War, the Union, the North won and the South was defeated, but the South was never punished. The Confederacy lived on in the ideology of the people, of the white people of the South. Reparations were never paid to Black Americans. They were never really truly given the opportunity to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, to rise up and become equal members of this country, equal citizens. They've been fighting for their equality since then. They've never actually truly achieved it. So when white people hear a promise from Donald Trump et al. That we're gonna run the country like a business, to them that sounds appealing. They're like, oh yeah, because you know what? I'm a business owner. I own this country because I'm white. When Black and brown people hear, well, we're gonna run the country, run the government like a business, they understand what that means.
Toby be good nigga for massa. Good nigga.
Because they've been dealing with it for centuries. White people think that they are on the side of the owners, the masters, but they're not.
I'd rather have Donald Trump as a dictator for 4 years. Absolutely.
This country needs a dictator. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
He could stand on the front steps of the White House and commit murder, and I'm with him.
If he says it, then I'll go with it. And if he wants to be a dictator, then so be it.
Like I said in the beginning, this is exactly what y'all asked for.
Most white people have more in common with the Black and brown people that they look down upon. They are closer to them in the economic tax bracket than they are to the white billionaires whose they kiss. But listen to them glazing billionaires, especially on this app.
One thing about Trump, he's an honest man. He would never lie. He's a billionaire and you struggled to pay for McDonald's this morning. Well, that's true.
I make $50,000 a year, but I have more in common with Jeff Bezos than I do with George Floyd. Bullshit.
Hey, you lost, boy?
No, I'm going to the race.
What race?
NASCAR race.
You going to NASCAR?
Yes, sir. A little bit.
You ain't lost, is you?
No, I'm good. I'm going to the race, sir.
Sure about that?
Yes, sir.
Find something safe to do, boy.
The only reason the lie of let's run this country like a business appealed to you is because you thought you would benefit. And now here you are. Now here you are understanding that when they say we're going to run this country like a business, that means they're going to profit off of your ass. That means that if you take $100,000 loan out to go to college, you will be in debt to the federal government until the day you die. You borrowed 100 grand, prepare to repay 300 grand because they're running the government like a business now. And guess what? You're a customer, not an owner.
Now you see in that clip, okay, this young lady is distraught, and she brought out some points, okay, but let's talk about it scripturally. This Ecclesiasticus 14 and verse 5 reads, "He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his good." So you have these wicked Edomites. It's so wicked. Okay, we're talking about the the people that are really in charge, which is the elites. Okay, who have their public government set up. There's basically a public representative who are doing their biddings. Okay, the biddings of these devils. Okay, and the wealth hoarders. We see that taking place right now. What they're doing is everybody's paying a lot of money at the gas station and food and everything like that because of the Strait of Hormuz shutdown or lockdown. They're making a lot of money. They're manipulating the market. They're benefiting, and so they don't care about their own people or the people that look like them, because there is a class system. And what, I think this young lady have determined is that, you know, they're not at the same level. They've been put into depth. Essentially, what they really are is they're parallel. They have a parallel poverty as just people that they were hoping that they would be above, which is the so-called Blacks, Native Americans, and Latinos, especially so-called Blacks. Okay, because this is always a black and white thing in here in Great Babylon, America. So when we go to Isaiah 19, let's see what's going on with this. Okay, this is Isaiah 19, start verse 1. It reads, the burden of Egypt. And that word burden should jump at you, because burden is what? Something that's, really holding you down, holding you back. And it could be a whole lot of things. All right. Behold, the Lord, Yahweh Shema shall ride upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst thereof. So right now, the Lord Yahweh Shema is in this place, okay, judging this place, okay, and this is why everybody's experiencing what they're experiencing right now, the hell. Keep in mind that the elect will be protected through this, okay, until the Mashiach returns to rescue the hopefully elect from certain death, okay, so to speak. Let's go and jump right to verse 3 reads, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirit and to the wizard. So, I mean, they've seen hardship before to a degree, there's always been a solution. Let's go back and let's do this, let's do that, let's cut back on spending, let's do this and that, except this time around, that none of those things are going to work. It's not going to work, because the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai is now bringing a closure, okay, to this wicked kingdom, because Esau has to complete the task of bringing in the MOTB, which is going to lead to war, and of course the glorious return of the Mashiach, okay, to subdue all these nations, okay, and set up the heavenly kingdom. And what you have right now, when you go to verse 4, it says, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, said the Lord of hosts, Yahweh Shema Shai. So there it is right now. Okay, they're suffering under a dictator, okay, that preaches democracy, okay, that is not for the people, that is for the wealthy and the elites, okay, and the poor right now are feeling it, okay, and this is going to lead to those seditions amongst men, okay, and right now they're on parallel with Jake's, okay. So now we're going to go into our final clip here, and very interesting, it's great to see these Edomites, kind of waking up to misery. They're waking up to the fact that, the thrill is gone, so to speak. If any of you know that song from B.B. King, the thrill is gone. And that's basically what's going on. But the thrill is gone for them, not for us. So take a look at this.
So it's clear that we are watching the fall of the American empire in real time. And there is a stark difference in the way that the white community is responding and how the black community is responding. The black community en masse has completely withdrawn. They fought, they campaigned, they warned us, and we chose the orange man anyway. And they're out. The white community, on the other hand, is fighting, those of us who aren't under Trump's spell. And there is this real sentiment that if we can just get Trump out of the way, then we can all get back to normal. But the thing is, that's not what God is doing. And I'm not a nihilist, but we're missing the point. The point is, this white supremacist system has wreaked enough havoc. Enough. And God is judging it. And the fact that we are clinging so hard to it makes me wonder, what does the black community see that we don't, that's allowing them to totally let go right now?
Now, you saw in that clip, okay, he's saying, what is it that so-called blacks are not seeing? Okay, now keep in mind, and this is not for you Northern Kingdom tribes, or you Northern Kingdom tribe brothers and sisters, so-called Native Americans and Latinos and Hispanics. Okay, oftentimes it's a black and white thing, in America. Okay, it's been that way, and that's the reason why we always remind everybody, okay, Yasharal is more than just so-called blacks. We have the 12 tribe chart that shows, where we've been scattered to, and our people have been, from the northern kingdom and southern kingdom have been under this oppression. But let's answer this man's question. This is Ezekiel 35 on verse 1 reads, more with the word of the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, thus said the Lord power, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee. So we know that the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai our power is against this place, okay, which is known as Mount Seir, one of the many names. And I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate, which is a situation. Okay, it could be an emotional situation, but, stores closing, business closing, high unemployment, gas prices, food prices, everything is making it very difficult to have any type of mirth. Okay, and that's what's happening is the mirth of the land is disappearing. Continue says, I will lay thy city waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know I am the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai. These questions that they're asking, these murmurs, these whispers, and you saw they're not going to continue to ask those anymore. It's just going to be a matter of like, okay, we just have to go fix it ourselves. We have to remove, okay, the cause of our problems, okay, and that's going to be sedition amongst men. But what they don't understand is what's happening to you Edomites, starting with you low-level ones who are parallel with Jake's as far as poverty is concerned, is this. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, with all of you do, including this man, he has a perpetual hatred. And I shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and he will deny it, okay, but you are your fathers, okay? There's no doubt that you've shed blood of the children of Israel. In the time that the iniquity had an end, therefore, as I live, said the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Said thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Okay, going back to Isaiah 19 and 2, Egyptians against Egyptians. Okay, so the elect man of Yahweh Shema Shai knows that we preach it out there, and while our people, will, reject it, they'll make mockery. At the end of the day, it's embedded in their head. They've heard it, they've ignored it. Okay, they see the Hebrew Israelites all across the streets of America. Okay, and they're hearing this word, and the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai is going to put the spirit, okay, in them. Now, it's also that spirit, okay, that there's you have the spirit of the truth, okay, which we look at it from a spiritual perspective, but then you have the spirit of carnality, which is in these people for, you see a lot of these podcasts and these jakes that come on and say, what, we're only minding our own business. When they see the Northern Kingdom tribe getting kicked down in the streets or getting put these in internment camps, from these deportation, they go, well, that's not our business. We're not getting involved with that, not understanding, what's really taking place. So it would be the same thing with these J. Cool in the carnal world of saying, well, screw you, Edomites, or screw you whites. We're not going to help you. You didn't help us, and you deserve what you're getting. That's how they're thinking from a carnal mindset. We look at it from a scriptural mindset, which is what? These are the judgments of the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai, because they have imparted all of these wickedness, shedding our blood and having us subdued in constant oppression. Okay, and the Lord is now bringing that, pursuant to Deuteronomy 30 and 7, on their ass now, and they're catching hell. So, Lord willing, the episode of Father, because we're giving all glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, Shalom.